Okay, welcome everybody. This is the Crypto Harmonic Pattern webinar, kind of an introduction to what's really going on with harmonic patterns in the cryptocurrency markets. I think we're all familiar. We've been doing work on TradingView. Everyone's been posting a lot of patterns, great stuff, and the markets are just responding incredibly well. And I think that, for me personally, it's something of course, I dismissed and like most people wish I took it seriously 5 years ago, but of course it's never too late. And I think what we've seen in the last couple of weeks alone tells us that. So we've got to always keep an open mind for opportunity, because I think I want to post first quick look at a chart that I put up, because last week I thought things were getting really crazy and personally dumped across the board everything that I held, which was, it's maybe been a trial experiment for me, which I've taken more seriously in the last couple months. Now, what I did is I dumped my Ethereum position, and then it ran 80 points. And so I came back to it, and I was holding some Litecoin and had dumped that and automatically re-entered that, and looked back at thought we would experience some consolidation, thought we would experience at least some kind of a check back where, hey, if this thing, the amount this has been pulling back has been creating a lot of phenomenal opportunities, that, hey, a 20% pullback's not unreasonable. Look for something like that. And it's exploded. And it's exploded because we have reached a level in the harmonic pattern structure across the board on these daily charts where if this thing's going to be for real, and it's going to continue higher as a growing entity. I think that's how you have to look at it, much like the internet stocks of the mid 90s. And that's what this reminds me of. I really got my first lesson on those internet stocks because they made moves like you're witnessing now in Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum. Pretty remarkable stuff. So let's look really quick at Bitcoin, because for me, that's something that is the baseline for all of this, of what is happening going forward. The big event that's coming up in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, are the CME futures. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But here's Bitcoin just on a 5-minute chart going the last 12 hours. Okay, a lot going on here. This is a phenomenal and getting to be more volatile trading vehicle. Now, I don't want to dismiss anybody's argument that of the long-term potential here, and clearly this thing is caught on. I think 10,000 as a big psychological number is something that will be, people will be getting used to a lot more. But we can look at this from a trading perspective of opportunities, and with these Bitcoin futures that are about to pop, trading this thing is going to be probably one of the best vehicles of all, better than currencies, better than futures. And, so from a trading perspective, that opportunity is coming quickly. Now, how do we trade it? How can we measure? That's going to give us the expectations of knowing when to buy and sell. Clearly, we'll want to favor this uptrend until, this thing proves us wrong. But buying simple pullbacks, I personally think that the Bitcoin price action is truly affected by some of the golden ratios, the basic ratios, the 1618 and 618, also the 314. So these are a couple of things I'm going to mention today. I'm going to show a few techniques. I'm going to talk about one or two things to look at that's going to help you if you want to look for a pullback, to know maybe how far this thing has run. Maybe it's run too far from a measurement basis. I thought that at 8,300. I did think it could go as high as 9,300, and I'll go through those measurements as a review in a second here. But I want to talk about what's happening right now. This thing traded 1,000 points overnight and is getting into a frenzied state. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means it's going to be volatile, aggressive, and I think it's going to require a hell of a lot of attention to really benefit from these movements. The one thought that I have of, especially you guys are here as traders, as people that we're trying to be precise, surgical, and do the measurements that we do. Okay, we're not just going to throw our money into the market and unless we have some signals. So let me show you guys a couple of signals here, one or two that'll be really helpful. And before I do that, I want to just show you guys one thing where you can get a lot of information on this. And so right now I've got my gold membership, and all of the stuff I'm about to go through, there's a ton of stuff in here, including the library. So check that out. And I bring this up because all of the resource material that a lot of you are paying $1,000 to $3,000 for, I have put together here for a free trial. There's like 35, 40 hours. So everything I'm about to go through and my live recording sessions, everything that I do, check that out. Now, you can get more information there, but let me show you one or two of those ideas that are in the Harmonic Trading Library. First, the primary indicator that we use is relative strength with the harmonic measures. Okay, that's something that I introduced in the Volume 2 book. And of all the research, I encourage you, if you guys have other indicators that work, go for it. But for me, a simplification, understanding of measurements and the indicators themselves to give us what I call an environmental bias, where the indicator at least gives us some degree of extreme of how far the price has moved. Relative strength, this formula that you're looking at right here was devised by Wells Wilder, and he released it in his 1978 book, New Concepts of Technical Trading Systems. He gave the whole equation away, and it was a heck of a contribution. And it's something that I've worked with. I've developed my own harmonic strength index because I feel some of the harmonic modifiers are essential with the harmonic measures. But if you want to just start out and you're manually drawing patterns, at least bring up the relative strength, because I'm going to show you one or two things that are going to be extremely helpful. One is based on the concept of the M and W structures. So TradingView, they have the XABCD tool. What is that? Well, that's just an M and W structure that we trace out. This is the essence of harmonic patterns as we know them. Here's a crab pattern, could go as high as the 2.0. 1.902 is actually the optimal, but that's a little one for you guys, a little nugget. But 1618. Okay, what does that mean? This W structure has significance, and much like a pennant flag or consolidation, we now know that the M and W structures, the harmonic patterns, they mean something. They're a cycle. So at that point, though, there has to be some kind of confirmation factor. This is a minimum point. That pattern definitely helps to give us and define what we call an overbought or an extreme state where that price movement has moved too far too fast. And one of the ways we can optimize that is simply looking for confirmation with relative strength when it hits the area. Now, that simple confirmation I talk a lot about, and I really recommend for everybody that are tracing out harmonic patterns, you're trying to execute. Okay, pretty soon we're going to be able to trade Bitcoin futures on 5-minute, 60-minute charts. A movement like this where intraday on a 5-minute basis, that is a remarkable percentage move. Something else to think about. Think about what Bitcoin's doing on a percentage basis. 11.3, 11.4, all the way down to 10.4. That's an 8.5% move. So the other thing about that is respecting the framework, looking for that confirmation. And then I think the other thing that a lot of people know is the type 1 trade, because that is the basic targets, typically as measured off the pattern, the 382. which is about there. And then a 6, oh, bring that back here. And a 618. That's a definition of a type 1 trade. Okay, and that's the other part of the framework where, at a minimum, the 618 is a phenomenal number. I think we're seeing a lot of 1618 and 618 moves as this thing climbs higher. But we can also look for, the retest of that pattern so that we know that at a minimum, from the Harmonic Framework, if we see this 618 pullback, well, that's probably an intraday continuation. Also notice, look what happens at your indicator. So simple measurement with indicator confirmation is a huge advantage. And this is all free with TradingView. But just in terms of what I put on my chart, that's the minimum. Now, I've got my other own tools. I'm going to show you a few things in a second, but if you're new to this and you're learning, that's what you need to get the basic understanding, because what the measurements are expectations. And then from that expectation, you want to focus it down into that area. I always call it a ballpark, but that's when we start to look at things like relative strength or harmonic strength index. One of the other things I look at, I won't show today, but is the harmonic volatility bands. Now, these are all harmonic measures, and something that I think, as I develop my own tools for cryptocurrencies and be able to experiment and run these cryptocurrency feeds through my Harmonic platform, it's more about understanding what the whole natural limit of any move is. We know that that's a parabolic move. Okay, you can't even see it. Hold on. All right, here's just the weekly chart. Not sure what's going on there. Let me bring up the weekly chart. And, something I do want to talk about also are just mention briefly over the exchanges and where to get some more information on all of this. Because I think, for us, the normal trader, I'm not a computer person. I'll take time to learn, study anything. I've spent the last 12 months really looking at this. I think the last 6 months, I felt like I knew enough to where I could put some money to work on it. But when I see a move like this as a trader, I get a little nervous. I want to take some profits. But I can also look at something as simple as the relative strength. That's pretty basic. That's still ticking up. And until that rolls over, this thing is going to climb higher. So, but within that, we can break it down to, say, an hourly time frame. The last few days have been sharply higher, and I think we're in a unique time right now because what is happening right now is truly about this market capitalization and also the soon-to-be release of the CME futures. Now, the futures are going to change the game a little bit. There are some ways currently where you can trade Bitcoin, and you're going to be able to trade the other cryptocurrencies. For my Harmonic Trader platform, with the Bitcoin futures, it's something that I'm going to be going into where I have some of the advanced harmonic tools that I'm going to introduce with that. So this Bitcoin futures is a big event. I don't want anybody to underestimate it. I know there's a lot of people buying and holding. There's a lot of money being thrown at this. And I certainly do agree that this thing could go as high as 13,000. Okay, and I think that is more, for me, I'm more looking at something like, I'm looking at some of the other coins, Litecoin and Ethereum. But Litecoin is a derivative of Bitcoin. And that's something where I don't know if a lot of people understand that is, there's an exchangeability there. I won't get too much into the technicals, and I do recommend that you at least go to Wikipedia and do a little Googling on it. I did a post today on that and put up this butterfly. Now, what I do, as most of you know, is that through my work, through the years of experimenting with these M and W ratios, some of the breakthroughs that happened for me that helped me define not only patterns for reversals, but even using the patterns for targets, was based on the discovery of the alignments. This is our classic harmonic bearish pattern, a W structure. And the most important part of any W or M structure is the B point. And that B point, depending on where that is, defines where this ultimate minimum completion is. There's a geometric reciprocal going on. I won't get into that either, but just link up the proper B point with that completion. Now, in this case, the B point is very close to the 786 ratio. As most of you know, that validates a butterfly structure. And I have seen this formation in IPOs. There was a similar formation like that in Facebook and some other. I've seen this in IPOs a lot, and that is something where, for me, based on experience, and one of the reasons why I'm even doing something like this today, is to kind of relate the experience that this is no different than a lot of the internet IPO that we saw. And sure, 3-4 years after the fact, many of them went bust, but we're in the early phases, and in that early phases, there's a lot of room for upside. I caution everybody that you do not be complacent, and you monitor this on a daily basis. But for a trading vehicle, for something that is happening now, certainly can't be ignored. So I really think that I want to show one or two things here that at least caught my attention that I'm going to pay attention to more so as I do more of my research. And because I think Bitcoin as a legitimate vehicle and as something that will be sustainable is going to depend on what its transactions are, true transactions. This is what a lot of the big money will start doing as soon as the futures come in. Believe me, these banks want to come in here. They want to short Bitcoin and try to get control of it. So they're going to be doing a lot of advanced analysis, be able to put a lot of weight behind what they want to do to get a piece of the market. Now, the market cap, the total market capitalization and the market capitalization of all cryptocurrencies is probably the other number to really look at. And I look at Coinbase. I also look at the Bitfinex, okay, which they use some TradingView script for their charts. But these aren't critical numbers, and it's important to monitor that. That's something I'm actually want to do some harmonic analysis, especially on the volume figures, because if this price action is going to continue and be sustained, it's going to need volume, and it's going to need really kind of, especially with what's about to come up here with the futures and the ability for other people to take the short side of the market, they're going to need to really kind of keep chugging. Now, that is not for another 2 weeks, 10 days. And in that time, the next week, 10 days, I think you're in a unique spot. And so let's look at the Litecoin framework. And I would stick with that target. This target here is up at 133, maybe as high as 140. And that equates to a Bitcoin probably about 15K, maybe by Jan 1 or early January. But this stuff has, it has blown me away with how quick it has unfolded. Let me just go to that last. Yeah, here's the last one. And so this was just the last few days, about a week ago. This has really rocketed since. And I highlighted this area of the 886 because really this is just a big Gartley because of the B point of the 618. And from a harmonic perspective, that breakout really begins above that ABCD failure. The other thing to note, and as I said, in terms of looking at the relative strength, that simple confirmation is powerful. And we go to there and we look here, and that's on a daily basis. Something to note that a confirmation for any harmonic pattern isn't until the indicator comes out of the zone. That's the primary kind of principle for any indicator confirmation. It's usually early. It's a leading signal, and certainly we want to link up a clear pattern or clear level with that. Now, going in there and just looking at that, looking at what type, right here. Okay, remember, we wanted to see what happens there. And looking at that, it's that relative strength still trending higher. And so this thing will remain in an uptrend until that relative strength is able to roll over. Now, if you want to break it down, pretty much I'd be looking at 60-minute here. I mean, it's just a remarkable and really solid volume. And it's something that even at the volume levels, just look at even the volume exhaustion levels, volume breakout levels here. The obvious ones, huge surge there. Another, just continuations. So it's a difficult proposition, but in this next window of about 10 days, utilizing that target up at 133, I don't think I can fit it all in the window. Let me bring it back in here from the 1 hour basis, but pretty much want to be following this uptrend. This is going to be an aggressive uptrend up until the next 10 days. And you're in that phase. You don't have anything that can fight that. And that would be the short-term objective. Beyond that, and everything that people say, 100,000 Bitcoin, that all depends on market capitalization and what happens if what governments, whatever anybody can do to try to at least slow it down. I'm not saying it can't happen, but and I think this is a phenomenon that is not going to be only limited to Bitcoin. I think you can, again, look at what happened during the internet years of the first few that cracked through, and then look at other alternatives, look at other vehicles. That other one that seems to be favored due to its privacy is, look at Ethereum. It cracked 500. And let me show you guys one thing that I posted a while back on Ethereum. Bring this up. One second. It's running a little slow. Let me go. I have it on the daily chart. And I'm going to stress this, and I want to show this one pattern because, look, through my years of experience, I've seen patterns come together and relied on the measurements, relied on simple ABCDs to give me great targets, to give me a framework to understand where the market's moving. And this has been my reliable framework that doesn't disappoint. And so this is the Ethereum post from end of August, looking for that eventual completion of 545. Now, there was a correction in between there, but the basic framework, the measurements, and even just simply looking at symmetrical moves, not dismissing starting point, beginning point, and understanding that there is a symmetry here. You can understand what's going on in Bitcoin. All right. You can understand an ability to know what the targets are. And then finally, be patient enough to wait for those pullbacks. Continue to ride this up. I say Ethereum, these are all minimum targets. Here is, let's go back on Bitcoin really quick. Just even in the recent weeks, back in mid-October, another extreme harmonic pattern, but another symmetrical projection. This was a 3 drives pattern. A little less known is actually a book that I discussed, or a pattern I discussed in my first book. But again, at 5,700, it's quite clear where this thing is accelerating. From a trader's perspective, when I see something like this forming, coming together, and I have a clear targets that 8,000 is minimum objective. Even back then, I'm saying as high as 93.38. This gives us clear expectations. It's going up. We go with the trend. And everything that we do is to attack those targets. So do be aware of this. Do be aware of the symmetry. Do take a look at what is happening in terms of repeating retracements. Look at the key numbers. I think basic perspective, there's 3 numbers, is to look at the 618, look at 1618, and then look at 314 extensions, because this will continue. Here's that other Ethereum. Now this is the one where I didn't like this. Wasn't too crazy about the retest of the bearish bat, but we're still favoring that 545 target and still am. So if you guys have a question or two, I'll cover that. If you want to look at maybe some other altcoins, or you want to look at Bitcoin, I'm willing to take a few in the chat box. I think that's going to be the easiest way to do it. Let me discuss really the only risk here of that has happened to Bitcoin is that the reason why the thing crashed in 2014 was because there was a hack and a bunch of Bitcoins were stolen, and this thing got tied to the Silk Road. And that's pretty much the thing from a larger perspective of what threatens it is having coins stolen. And that's in a long-term basis, that's been it's held up okay so far, but that's your primary risk, is a privacy risk, I think. So there's a question: do you understand, or do you expect to know something about harmonics to understand the patterns? I think, yeah, but I think the what I'm saying is that get aware of the structures, especially get aware of the M and W formations. If you're not aware of the patterns, sign up for the free membership where you can check out all the software, even the basic members. This is a free membership that I've created for everybody. And you go to Harmonic Trader, no credit card required. You can view tons of material. There's official download of the first book, The Harmonic Trader. And then there will be another, I'm going to add a library. So I've created that single source there where all of the questions you have, you want to learn about the patterns, the basics. You get it for free right there at harmonictrader.com. You want to upgrade, you have any questions, send me an email at harmonictrader@harmonictrader. Now, my own stuff and what I'm doing more is embracing this, embracing other altcoins, and looking seriously at this as a new market niche for the next couple of years until proven otherwise. And I'm really speaking in terms of speculation and investment. And that's something to consider. You know, I know some people that have made a lot of bank on these moves, and it's remarkable. At the same time, in much the same way, we saw a lot of the same stuff during the internet phase. .com 1.0. We're going to go through that again. So I'll rip through one or two things I think are pretty interesting. I showed you guys Litecoin, Ethereum, one or two other ones that are pretty good. I think are this IOTA, and that's already taken off, but that's something I think get on the radar. Now, I'm going to do a follow-up presentation next week, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of entry techniques. So do respond when I do send out that invite. You can check that out. But it's a perfect example of a penny coin started out. I mean, really, this was 35 cents back in the beginning of the month. Now trading 140. If you're in there and you're up, 500% as a trader, again, I'm looking to take profits. And I think because you have to look at these areas, even something like this, of looking at that there, and looks like RSI, it's overbought, but it still needs time, and that's. But I would look for that and I think you're going to have vehicles to trade this more so. But that's kind of the way that I really recommend that if you're new to Bitcoin, if you're new to charts, that you take the time to learn the basics of, a trend line, and even looking at the basic ABCD structure that I talk about that's in that, and that goes to pretty much here. Let me try this. I mean, because even with this structure, hold on, guys. Do mute your. Where's your microphone? Thank you. Because look at this structure here. Another XABCD pattern that, again, not difficult once you understand what the measurements need to be. So go to the XABCD tool. What's the B point? The B point's another 786. Come down. There's your ABCD minimum. Now we're looking for about a 127. That's up at about 160, 165. But you see how these basic structures can give you the targets at a minimum, and certainly something like IOTA busts through this 165, I'm going to know something larger is unfolding. And there's another great tool there where if it takes off beyond there, you're looking for some type of acceleration. And I don't know about these. That's clearly happened in Litecoin and Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's not unreasonable to think that this thing is going to spread to other vehicles. And here's the other one, is this sentiment dollar. Another one that's exploded. It's way too high already. And but again, just want to show, looking at that ABCD structure, this one's at a 9.2. A lot of you guys know about the 886, okay? That 886 up at the B point, that minimum, that high B point right there, triggers a deep crab. Now, this is probably a bad tick all the way down, and I think that's a bad tick there, but even in that way of looking at a deep crab, typically goes up as high as a 2.0. All right, so and something's going on there. Plenty of time to take advantage of this stuff, but that's the way to look at it. Here's the other one that was recommended to me recently. Nice, Devin. Yeah, Desmond has a good point here. Desmond says he signed up for the training. He took advantage of the resources. He's been studying the strategies, and he's following what I do. Everything I do I do everything live. I also am, I think here goes this Ripple. All right, this XRP Ripple is another one. So do check that out. There's a number of them. A good bookmark page of volume rankings here of the top crypto. Go to coinmarketcap.com. I found that a really good resource as well for all the Bitcoin highest volume. And again, I think volume is essential for anything you're going to get into. So make sure you got sizable, continuous growing volume. I'm not making any specific recommendations in this presentation. This is all informative. And the key points are to measure what the markets are doing, and get a basic understanding of where it's been before you throw money in there. Now, this stuff has everyone's attention, and I think I've seen enough personally where I'm going to respect the Harmonic Framework, continue to look for the optimal confirmation strategies, and begin to develop kind of a following, even a portfolio, if you will, and start having that as a tracked kind of crypto harmonic portfolio. So all of that I'm looking to set up right now, and I think with what's happening, this is going to require, especially with the futures, I'm going to be able to trade that with my framework and with the platform. But TradingView also has all the pairs that you need. So do check that out. And I think it's something as a trader, as somebody that looks at charts, been looking at charts my whole life. This stuff is definitely all come together. And so I know that for United States citizens, it's difficult to trade some of the cryptocurrencies. And so again, I'm personally take a look at the two websites, the Coinbase and Bitfinex, that are available, and look at the big exchanges. Again, I'm not making any direct recommendations, but for resources that you guys can check out on your own is essential. Look at them, and look at a couple of them. I might even recommend having 2 smaller crypto accounts, because you don't know, it's too early. This is going to take time. Now, for the Harmonic thing, you guys can join up and sign up for free at harmonictrader.com and check it all out. And also, the platform that I offer has all of the advanced harmonic tools, and something that I've worked on for the last year. A lot of it I know you guys aren't aware of, but the advanced material of confirmation, automatic management targets make the difference. And the basic understandings that are involved to have that success are all built into not only the site, but what we have for the software. So check that out. Again, if you want to just get your feet wet, sign up for the basic membership. You're going to find dozens of hours of material, and then send me any questions you might have. So one more. All right, I'll look at that XMR. There was one XMR versus Bitcoin, and that's actually that XMR or anything versus Bitcoin, I think is something that you need to look at as well, because everything that I've been talking about is versus the US dollar. And I think that there's a lot to be said for what's happening currently with the US dollar, and also a lot to be said for playing it against, playing all these cryptocurrencies against fiat currencies, playing it against US dollar, or again, it's simply a volume play. And I think that's another reason why most people are going to be, I feel, exchanging it in US dollar. Sure, it's going to go up can be converted easily, but most people are tracking it versus the dollar still as the world currency reserve for now. But you're talking about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin specifically, getting to be now upwards $60-80 million market cap. I don't know, it changes every day. But let me look at that. You want to say XMR USD is a good one. Okay. And I also encourage you guys to respond to any of my posts. If you have any comments, or the Monero versus the dollar, or any thoughts of things to look at. But this is, another one here. I think even from looking at your relative strength, that's the key on the daily. I still say that clearly you're in a strong uptrend with this. I would be looking for this thing. Hold on. Let me bring it in here. It's the 4 hour. I would really want to look at 4 hour, 1 hour time frames if I'm a trader, and soon we'll be able to trade these intraday. There's going to be a lot of phenomenal pullbacks, even on 5-minute basis. On a 4 hour chart, if you're a longer term, if you're somebody that's trying to play this as a longer term basis, maybe you want to get in on cryptocurrencies and you're looking to buy and hold because you can't trade. Well, even doing longer term analysis of, say, a simple ABCD, something like that, where this is that basic ABCD structure. In the membership page there, I have a webinar that explains why the ABCD works. And it's essentially just one kind of corrective sine wave. It's a natural wave in the market. And we could use that. And then I got that. There you go. There's the ABCD with the XABCD tool. But the minimum ABCD pullback on a 4 hour or even a 1 hour time frame, I think with the way this stuff is moving, is a great way to be looking at this stuff for pullbacks. Also looking at keep respecting longer term relative strength. For now, looking at this, I want to take off the lock here. Oh, there it is. The magnet was on. Right now, this Monero, you always want to go with the high and low. We just have a crab pattern, kind of stretched out, but still look for that up around the 1618. Almost hit there. Your 1618 is, call it 162, about 213. So I'm still favoring these targets, even though that fell just shy. I would still favor that target and say that I'm positioning moves for these targets, just like Litecoin. Litecoin's sitting at $100 or under $100. I want to see that. I want to look to play that for 133 in the next 30 days, 60 days. If this is cryptomania is going to continue, I'm going to stay with it. Something like this, we get a trend line pullback. Again, it's not going to come all the way back down, but if something checked back, these are checking back 10% quite regularly. So let's break it down like a 5-minute intraday. It was a huge surge overnight and even intraday. Let me remove all the drawings. Okay, even just the simple recognition of relative strength rolling over. Let me see here, like this. Thank you. It's if I come to the market and I see that overnight, okay, that's the first thing. I'm looking for a pullback. Now, for today, this is actually in a pretty good spot. If I'm looking as a trader, looking for something after last night's big surge, yeah, I think now we've got something to look at. And it's that kind of a thing where especially going forward, this is only going to get bigger. The volume is only going to increase. Okay, so these markets are going to grow. But something like this is, let me change the color of it so you can see it, is a really easy way to just look at that and say, okay, intraday basis, I'd rather be looking for my pullbacks. I'd rather want to accumulate. If I want to get into this, if this thing is going to keep running, we're trading 184 right now. Remember those big targets? We were saying that 1618 was up at 213 or something, 215. Yeah, bearish crab. This is a great example where, okay, yeah, now we're really close. The other thing is, let's look for the RSI trigger and the downtrend break. Not there yet. but you're close. And that's, again, I think this is great movement. If this was a stock, if this was NVIDIA trading, 205 down to 180, that would be a great movement. That's great, a great vehicle. Again, it comes down to the volume. I think of what I've seen personally, the liquidity has been quite good. If there's an event-driven price change, that might not be the case, but so far so good. The last thing is that if we're favoring the buy side right now, everybody, and we're looking for, say, intraday pullbacks like this, one other way to look at it is look at this extreme, okay, and let's wait for this to come back to the other way. This is now another way to say, okay, this intraday pullback, that's over. Now we're close. We're looking for something in this area. Something I've talked about in my volume 2 book is just simply looking at these areas and identifying where they pop out of the zone. And that's like right here. I call that the trigger bar. And we'll get into that more in the next session. This really was an introductory session. But that's how I would look at these kind of vehicles. This is how I would kind of look at this situation. Even something as basic, if you're not, again, aware of the ABCD, something like this ABCD down here is always going to be my preferred pullback scenario. So we'll get into more of that. I think in the next session, I'll talk about this ABCD and how to link up these kind of confirmations. But we'll see where these cryptocurrencies are by then. I'll send out another note. You guys check my Facebook page. I'm on there, or the Harmonic Trader page. And the other, you guys can check it there. And the other, the group page that you can follow where I have other things is that Harmonic Trader page here. And it's all, catch it on Harmonic Trading at Facebook. And then finally, again, check out Harmonic Trader and check out what we have there. We even have a calendar of events. And so everything, you can catch up everything there. So that's what I have for today. I'll show you guys the final thing is the MyFX book. This is what I'm going to be doing with the cryptocurrencies, especially with Bitcoin. We're going to do a futures account with Bitcoin, but this has been open 4 or 5 months. I've done 1,000 pips so far, and you guys can check that out. That's all harmonics, guys. That's all harmonic patterns. That's real, verified. It's supposed to represent an average retail account, what could be possible, trading it conservatively, and all of those statistics are there for you guys to check out. So thanks, everybody, guys. You have a great one. I wish you the best. Stay in touch. Send me an email and check out Harmonic Trader. Until our next time, have a great one.